Iowa State at Houston. Kempa making this one. Houston -9 initial opener. Houston -7.5, juiced in Iowa State's direction. Early thoughts on this one. Huge game in the Big 12. Houston atop the conference standings. Iowa State in fourth behind Arizona and Texas Tech. Turnover's still an issue for Iowa State. I mentioned that with at least Ziegler in particular for Tennessee, but 12th in the conference in league play in turnover percentage, so that hasn't really improved even with Momcilovic back in the lineup. They're floor spacing 4. Houston, highest percentage of takeaways forced in Big 12 play. I maybe lean Houston at this number. I don't have an edge either way, though. Anything for you here?
I mean, I feel like Iowa State has been hypersensitive to road and home splits. And they just play in a strong home environment, and they play in a lot of tough road environments. This is another tough road environment. Houston's crazy. I haven't really been betting on them a lot. I have a future on them to win the title. I think like 9-1, 10-1, and I think is still available and still a great price. Great price. But this is on average, you're not going to get much. Models, I don't think, are going to really recommend betting on this at all. These are very well understood teams. Lines are going to be sharp. I don't have a bet on this. It's interesting to see how they look in conference play. The post-up defense for Iowa has been a weak spot, and they're going to try to avoid allowing Houston to run it, but I do think Houston's going to use the action a lot. They're not great with it in terms of expected success, but I'm guessing their actual success is very high because they run it at over 11% of the time, which is as highest in the nation post-up usage. So expect a lot of that from Houston. It doesn't really play too well for what we do here at Shot Quality, but they are hyper potent off the dribble, hyper potent off the screens, hyper potent in catch and shoots. They take a lot of mid-range shots, and they're really good at them. It's just you're never going to get like a commendation from Shot Quality taking them. It's just they kind of mystify the number in that way, and they also dominate the 4 factors. So good luck. Good luck.
Yeah, I don't want to call Texas A&M Houston light because number one,
no, I think that's a really good thing to call. Honestly, I think it's a really.
I think from a market standpoint, market rating standpoint, it's fair.
Right. It's just Texas A&M. The light part is we can get beat if someone can beat us at the rim. Houston has probably more answers for that, and like can probably scheme around it. Forces the turnovers if you have that presence inside maybe a little bit more effectively. I don't know. I mean, that was a pretty unique case with Mississippi State last week. I don't think you're going to get that type of beatdown for A&M or that type of success for Mississippi State in the future. That was just the perfect combination. I texted you before it happened. I was like, gotta have this one. This is like, or else what are we doing here? And yeah, came home real nice. So like to see that. But it's not as strong here for that team, for either team, and especially not for Houston and Iowa State. I think it's largely a skip. Maybe just the contrarian over if you want to be a pain, and everyone's going to think this goes under. Maybe it runs and guns just enough to get over that line late.
Last thing for me on it, Houston does a really good job of limiting teams in transition, not just from a points per possession standpoint, but they don't allow teams to run. First percentile in transition offense face that according to Synergy. On the surface, if you're telling me even though the KenPom line is 9, so you're not getting a ton of value from that standpoint with the market at 7.5, you're getting 3 possessions on the minimum with the Cyclones. I would say Iowa State, but I think to your point, this is just a really tough game to bet because Houston, if they're not allowing Iowa State to run, that's where the Cyclones generate their most efficient offense. Maybe the contrarian over does happen, and both teams are hyper efficient in the half court. Houston, by way of offensive rebounds and in the mid range, and Juwan Roberts in the post, but stay away from me too.
Yep, gotta be. Just enjoy it.